So I've had a fantastic time doing these podcasts, and I am very proud and excited about some of the content. But I have to be honest with you, I have never been more excited about the content in a podcast than this one right here. If you want to learn and understand corporate culture, understand how to really feed your team members and give back to the community at large, this podcast right here is going to show you and teach you how to do that in real time with real stories and an amazing interview. Get ready. It's going to help you see business in a whole new way. Welcome to the next 24 hours, where I'm going to give you real information you can really use to transform your life and work one day at a time. I'll be your host, Curtis Zimmerman. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the next 24 hours. Very excited today to have my friend, Matt Fischer, here. Now, Matt has an amazing story, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, I do a lot of stuff with a lot of different companies on culture and on, who are you as a person and what drives you to make the employees better and to make the culture where you work better. And this is something that I found in spades when I came and visited Curiosity Advertising in Cincinnati. One of the people that works in the office, her name is Vanessa. She knows Matt and said, wow, you guys have to get in the same room. So let me welcome on the call right now. We have Matt Fischer. Welcome, Matt. Welcome to the next 24 hours. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, and very happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well, and I want to jump right into it because you had so many amazing stories, but I really want to start with you. And what's amazing to me is I know for a fact you were a top executive in New York City, living the big life, being bulletproof and being amazing, and working for one of the largest advertising companies on the planet. And then you walked in one day, and your life changed a little bit. Will you just give us a little background on that, what happened there?
Sure. So that is definitely one of those things where life forces you to reinvent sometimes. And one of those situations where I was an executive vice president, group creative director at a large agency in New York, and I'm sorry,
will you just say that one more time? You were what again?
I was an executive vice president, group creative director for a very large agency in New York City, and I was working on some very well-known big brands. And one day our holding company was purchased by another agency holding company, and there were brand conflicts. And the brand that I was working for fired us, and a few weeks later, I was let go. And in that process, I was very surprised because it had never happened to me before, but I also thought it was at that time in my career, it might be a great time to take a little sabbatical, spend some time with my kids, play some golf, and then look for a job after the holidays. And what happened the following Tuesday was 9/11, and that was a complete game changer in terms of what happened in my industry. And I realized that I was going to have to reinvent in a very big way. And I always tell this to the people that I meet is we're all going to have to reinvent probably 6, 7, 8 times in our careers because technology is changing the world so rapidly that these are just some of the things that are happening to us.
Wow. I love that. And I say all the time that change is the new normal. To your point. And leadership is not about dictatorship anymore. Leadership is about how willing are you to change today and then get the people behind you to follow suit and change as quickly as possible and adopt. And then the next day, do exactly the same thing. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about the journey. You took some time off and you came to the place where you said, you know what? I want to create the dream space, and I want to create a culture where I hire people that are talented, and that's awesome, but really people I like and people I just want to hang out with. That's what I felt the day I was there, and I don't feel that enough. Tell us a little bit about I know you have a partner, how did you come to that space?
So we started Curiosity Advertising here in Cincinnati in January of 2010, and at the beginning of that whole process, we thought that culture just sort of happens, and then we realized very quickly that we had to be very intentional, and we had to think about what mattered to us as business people, as parents, friends, all those qualities that you look for in the folks that you work with. And so that was a really and very interesting time, and we realized that we had to be intentional and really lay out the things that we valued. And what we value is incredible honesty and trust. And this is a business where we're creating all the time, and you cannot create successfully if you are not failing properly. And failure comes with the territory, especially in advertising. It's just the nature of the game. And so finding people who were comfortable with failing for all the good reasons, because they're trying new things and they're trying to pushing the barriers and the learning and the things that they're doing. So we knew that failure had to be an important part of what we were doing. And I always say that if you can learn to fail successfully, you'll never fail at success. And I think that that's an important part of this business. And so recognizing we had to create an environment, highly collaborative, where people needed to trust each other. That meant we couldn't have the sort of the bad element, the people who are toxic, the people who want to create drama, the people who it's all about them and not the bigger goals of the team. And so as we set out to do that, we were very, very purposeful in the way that and choiceful in who we added to the team and how we grew the business.
Wow. I can just tell you this. Most of the listeners right now think you've probably seen my keynote and think that you're just saying stuff that you've heard me say. That's what it keeps blowing my mind is literally some of the phrases you're using right now are what I use on stages all over the United States. So I talk a lot about failing successfully. I talk about failing as an event, not a person. And you shouldn't take ownership of that. When we fail in business, we call it innovation, and we need to feel like we can innovate ourselves as well. So you just kind of said that in a different way, and it's amazing. The other thing I talk a lot about is there are drama people and people that everywhere they create drama, and we need to give those people fewer lines in our life and give the healthy, whole people more lines in our life if we want to write the next chapter. So you and I are, that's why when I met you, my head kept exploding because you were literally saying the things I say. One thing I wanted to say that you created that I think is huge, that everybody needs, and that's something that I call white space. And white space is when you're not locked into a screen, you're not crazy busy with your life, but you're actually able to sit and think and have open areas and places to breathe. That's where creativity happens. That's where new music happens. That's where art happens. And what I loved about your space is it seemed like you had a lot of places for people to go and have white space in their life. Will you tell me a little bit about the actual design of your floor and why it's the way it is? Because it is amazing.
Yes. So it's an open space design. And I know that recently a lot of people have been critical of open space designs, but in advertising where people need to communicate with each other because everything we do has to be integrated because you have creativity, you have media, you have strategy, and all these folks need to feel like they can just walk over and have a quick conversation with somebody. So we prefer the in-person conversations to email and texting and those things because really the eye-to-eye contact is an important part of that. So when we designed the space, we knew that we wanted it to be open, but we also knew that we wanted to create areas that people could gather informally and meet together and work together. So we have a lot of huddle rooms and conference rooms, as well as other places like a big open, we call it the far side, which is just full of couches and foosball and a Pop-A-Shot and Game Boy and sometimes we have client presentations in there, but it's really just a place where people can go and it's almost like your living room and it's just designed to be relaxed and take the formality out of work. And none of us have offices. So I sit next to everybody else. They get to see as CEO how I approach my job, what I do every day. And I think it's important, especially for our young people, to see how decisions are made and how people are working.
So again, I hope everyone that's listening is painting that picture in their head because it's easy to hear leadership say what you just said. And I can't tell you how many boardrooms I sit in where people say what you just said, and then they go back to their big corner offices. So saying it...
I want to point something out because I may sound like I'm taking credit for all of these ideas, but these all actually came from our employees and what they wanted. And I think sometimes as CEO, you have to be a really good listener versus what I think the world should look like. They were telling me, hey, we need this space and we need a space like this and we need a ping pong table and we need a keg and we need these things.
I'm sorry, did you just say we need a keg?
Pardon?
Did you just say they said we need a keg?
Yeah, they need a keg. And
I love that.
Because it's also a social opportunity. And I'm happy to say no one has ever abused it, but it's also been an important part of our meetings late in the day that people feel free to get a beer and have a conversation and talk to each other. And I think that creates that trust that we're looking for, where these folks, the beauty of this is they truly care about each other's success, and they want to make sure that whatever they do in their roles, that they're helping the people around them. And I think when our clients meet with us, I think they feel the fact that everybody really genuinely likes working with each other, and that we've done a good job of screening for the people that meet what we're looking for. They've got to be curious because we're called curiosity, but they also have to be people who can show vulnerability and be honest and manage life's up and downs, because that's what it is. And so when everybody is able to do that, you just get this remarkable petri dish of creativity, and people push things farther than they ever could have on their own because they're around people who really support them.
I just have to say that I wish that every HR person, and I do HR conferences, that they would just listen to what you just said. Because first off, you're talking about treating people like adults. And it's amazing when you treat people like adults, how they react to that. You're not micromanaging people. And so many people say, well, Curtis, how do I get these people to pay attention? How do I get them to buy into? And it's so much about, well, who did you hire to begin with?
Right.
And your point about hiring the right people and getting them all focused on our tasks together is as important as hiring talent. And that, to me, is a big mistake that people make. Can you talk to a little bit about that, hiring talent compared to hiring amazing people, and then giving them the tools and the resources to make their magic happen?
Yeah, so we hire on three basic elements that we look for in people. One is just a culture fit. Will we enjoy working with them? Do they bring some awesome, aspect about who they are? Are they really a curious person? Do they explore the world? What about them will make them fun and interesting? And so we really look for that aspect of will they be a good fit for us? And we're not looking for everybody to be exactly the same. We're just looking for what's really unique and interesting about these people. And the second thing we look for is aptitude versus experience. Aptitude is a bigger indication of where someone's going to go in their lives or can go. And we're in a business that's constantly changing. And so it's chaos theory at work. So we want people who have no problem with getting on the bus and changing direction, because that's the way life is. And so, the best metaphor I can give you is your rearview mirror in your car is really small, and that's looking backwards. And that's what typically people, when they're hiring people, they tend to look at their experience. But we believe that aptitude is a much more important indicator of whether they're going to be successful with us or not. And so the rearview mirror is small, but your windshield is big, and that's where you're heading and where you're going. So we try to look at the person's ability to adapt, to change, to learn, to grow, to be able to do all these things as a real indicator of what they can do for us. Because I guarantee you, whatever we think they're going to be doing, they're going to be doing something else, because that's just the nature of the beast. And the last thing is we just look for that fire in the belly, the passion. And because no one wants to work next to somebody where it's just a job. Because if it's just a job, you're going to be doing their job before you know it, because they're not doing their job. And so we look for that passion. And sometimes people will come back 2 or 3 times before we hire them. But every time they come back, they've improved themselves in some way. They've demonstrated that they're continuous learning and all those features and the things that we look for. So that passion is they're really committed to it. And if you surround yourself around people who are passionate for the work and passionate towards making our environment a great place to work, it is a great work. And I always say, if you have happy and engaged employees, you will have very happy and engaged clients.
Wow, you're singing my song. I say every day, passion supersedes natural ability. get passionate about your life, get passionate about your products, get passionate about just having another day to go out and make a difference. And so you and I are so in alignment with that. Now, one thing you did mention earlier, and that was making some conscious choices about culture. And one of the things that you talked to me about and you were so proud about, even though you don't talk out into the social media about it or, do press releases on it. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about how your team has adopted a school and the impact of that potentially to help us not build so many prisons in the future. Will you explain that to everyone listening and so they can make that connection? Because it was mind-boggling to me.
So Ohio is one of 35 states that uses the third grade state reading test to determine how big the prison system needs to be when these kids turn 18. And it's the saddest fact I think I've ever come across, but it is the closest correlation they've been able to find. And so about 4 years ago, our Give Back committee came to us and said, hey, we want to adopt 2 classes at this local school, which is the kids are challenged. It's poverty, dysfunction in the families. And they said, we want to do something that really demonstrably makes a difference in their lives. So we agreed. And on Friday mornings, a large group of our employees goes and tutors every Friday. And we tutor in math and language skills. We have a pen pal program where twice a month they write to us and we write back to them, and we write letters, and it's a ton of fun because you just really get to know these kids and they get to know us. And they always get a kick out of the fact that they're getting a letter from the CEO, and I always tell them I'm the boss and they have to pay attention to everything I say, and of course they don't. But it's a really great experience for us. And then we throw them parties throughout the year to keep them engaged in education, and then we collect socks and we make pillowcases for them, and we do all sorts of things to sort of supply the things, and these teachers are just miracle workers. They are doing a great job with these kids and they're engaged. And I'm happy to say that in the last couple of years, we've gotten all these kids into the 4th grade, and it's a real accomplishment for us. And it reminds us that we're blessed in our own lives by having great clients and there's great things to have in our professional careers, but to be able to, through work, do something meaningful for somebody else is equally as important. And it's a big part of our culture.
Wow. And thank you for sharing that story. Like I said, I know you never did this for the story, but I had to get it out because I want other companies to see this as a model that you can take your 7, 8, 9, 15, 50 employees and you can make a local difference just by making a choice. And it's a beautiful thing.
I think it's even reflected in our values at work. And one of those things, I've sat in many, many conference rooms where the values and mission statements up on the walls are just interchangeable and they're just kind of blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And what I'm proud of is we gave our people the assignment, you create our values for us, tell us what they are, but they have to be unique to Curiosity Advertising. So our values we have 6 values and I love them. And the first one is we eat impossible for breakfast. And the reality is we're a deadline-driven business and that we're always given challenges that we may not know the answer to, but we're going to have to figure it out. And that just sort of says, hey, it's not status quo. We're going to do the impossible. So I love that. And then we always take the smarter fork, as in the smarter fork of the road, is that we're always looking for strategically the answers that are going to matter most and make our clients successful. The third value is if we're not having fun, we're doing it wrong, which is the whole point of work should be fun and interesting, and you should have that passionate for it. And if we're not, then we got to take a step back and say, what's wrong here? Even if it's a very serious situation that we're dealing with, we still should be able to laugh at ourselves and be able to have fun doing that. And then we make good gooder, which is just continuous improvement, right? We make good gooder. And we always want to do better every time that we go out the door. And then to teach is to learn twice is our 5th value. And that one is really tied around that when you become a true subject matter expert, you are able to teach other people the skills that you have. And so knowing that we really are a mentoring organization is important to us. We work with a lot of local schools. And then last is we've got your 6, which gets us back to the trust aspect, which is we need to trust each other to be successful.
Wow. And what's so awesome for me, and obviously everyone can't see you, but just reading those, I can see that there's a physical connection you have to those things. And that's something that I just felt the minute I stepped off the elevator and walked into the space. It's so often I talk to people in leadership positions and I say, who owns the culture here? And when you walk into a space, you get a feeling just from the people around. Are they smiling? Are they interacting? Are they having a great day? Are they? And your space has an energy that, what was value one again?
We eat impossible for breakfast.
And that's the way I felt the second I got off these people eat impossible for breakfast. I mean, isn't that who you want to do your marketing, your advertising? When you say, here's our challenge, and they go, oh, we eat that for breakfast. That's awesome. I love that. Tell me a little bit about two more things real quickly. One is, talk to us about the team photo that you do every year, and why do you do it? And give us a couple of those themes real quick. Again, these are the kinds of things that everyone should be doing, and I ask people to, and they say yes, and they never follow through. And you're doing it over and over and over.
Yeah, so it's a ton of fun, and it started out innocently enough that we just thought somehow almost we have to historically capture what we're starting, and maybe it'd be great to do a company photo every year. But we're obviously going to do it with creativity in mind. So the first one was pretty straightforward, all of us on a super long couch. And then year two, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars. And so we decided we were going to take credit for that. So we rented a spacesuit from NASA, and everybody got their picture taken in the spacesuit. And
of course they did.
That was a lot of fun. And they're very heavy and smelly, by the way. And then we did a Mad Men theme year three. And then we did where in the world would you want to go if you could go anywhere? Obviously, because we love curiosity and people who explore. And so everybody came dressed to the one place that they would love to be and go. And so that was fun to just see what everybody did. And then one year we gave everybody an opportunity to design a pair of Chuck Taylor sneakers on Converse website. And then we did a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head kind of thing with the sneakers, and that was a fun thing. And then this past year we did bobbleheads, and one of our art directors made a really great frame so that every time you walk by, it's motion sensitive and it will vibrate a little bit so everybody's heads are moving. And we've got, for our 10th anniversary, we have a big thing going. I can't reveal what it is, but it's going to be very cool. And so it's just one of those things that every year, and we kind of have a contest, and everybody dreams up what it could be, and everybody thoroughly enjoys participating in it. And it's fun to just look back on our history and see how it all works together.
And it's so important that everyone who's listening realizes, so these are the kinds of things that you can do to help create the culture that you want, but you have to go in it with the intention of fun. You have to give it over to your people. You're not mandating you're dressing up like you're going to Paris. You're dressing up like you're going to go to Hawaii. No. We're, again, treating everyone like adults, and they get to go out and they get to come back, and the more crazy, the better. That reminds me of giant chalkboards that are from the floor to the ceiling throughout your building and throughout your space, where people are able to do art and people are able to write messages, and they're just giant chalkboards. And one person, my understanding is, spent the night, stayed over the weekend, and there's a beautiful piece of artwork that the person put up in chalk.
Yes.
And I saw it there, and I was blown away. I said, this didn't just magically, somebody didn't do that in 10 minutes. Tell that story and give that person credit real quick.
Yeah, so it was one of our art directors, and they just have a tremendous amount of passion, and they decided over the weekend that they were going to create this amazing design. And it was, is your glass half full or half empty? And it's just a spectacularly beautiful, complex chalk art. And we all came in on Monday and we're like, who did this? And how did this happen? And it was like everybody was just blown away by the creativity. And And I think that's just part of the fun, is the surprise and like, how do we interpret the environment around us? And so it always makes me feel good as a CEO that our people, if they don't like where they work, they're not going to spend an extra minute in there at all. And the fact that somebody decided they're going to spend their weekend to create this for everybody else's pleasure was, to me, a real great sign that we have an incredibly strong and happy culture.
Other than dead cats. So I want to end with a little something I saw that had like dead cats with like X's in their eyes. And I was like, oh, I was all in. I wanted to work with you, but I kind of like cats. Can you tell us, can you close with what is that big event you do each year?
So that went real well. That went over well with the dog lovers, but not so much the cat lovers in the world. So it all came from the phrase, curiosity killed the cat, of course. And what we realized was that in this time of technology changing rapidly, that a lot of the ideas that we're creating and taking to our clients involve a very strong experiential aspect to it. There's going to be a technology play. There's going to be a lot of things that are really different from traditional advertising and even digital advertising. And in order to do that, we needed to not only educate our own employees, but we needed to educate our clients as to what's happening in the world. And so once a quarter, we bring all of our clients together, our prospective clients, and we teach them something. And we seek outside speakers, and we have talked on subjects from virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, sensing software and hardware, MIT labs. We've had famous designers, famous art directors, famous creative directors come through. And we just really spend our time talking about the differences of the world today and what we need to do so that when we create these new ideas, they have different kinds of timelines, different kinds of budgets, different kinds of ways to look at them. And by helping our clients see the future and our own people understand how we need to design and think, we're killing two birds with one stone, and it's just great. And I think everybody loves the thought leadership and what they get out of that. And so we do, as an agency, spend a lot of money in development training and leadership training and new skill training, because we feel that that's a very important thing to support our employees with their desire to get better at what they do. And I think, there's the old joke, the CFO says to the CEO, well, what if we train these people and they leave? And the CEO says, well, what if we don't and they stay? And I think that's an important thing for us is we're just big believers in make our employees great and give them the paths forward so that they can become what they want to be. And then they're going to be, like I said, very engaged and committed to our clients and what we do here. And I think, the beauty of this is, I think cultures that really work is it's like you can't take a piece out of it and not affect anything else. And so creating this ecosystem that really flourishes and that people really care about and contribute to is probably the proudest achievement I've had as a professional and as an executive.
Wow. I just have to say that you've shared so many amazing tips and tricks and ideas, but the number one thing is authenticity. And you're so authentic as a human being, and everyone I met there is so authentic. And the world we live in today, authentic is everything. And you can't fake that. And that's what I love about you, your company, and the culture you've created. And what I hope everyone else is hearing is we're giving away every day to our employees. We're not having clients and customers, we're having partnerships. And as a partner, we're going to walk you through the innovations that are happening in the world and on the planet and down the street from you. And we're going to give you some of those tools, bring your people in, and we're going to invest in you so that our relationship goes deeper and we can both succeed in our businesses. Those are the kinds of things you have baked in that I think are just, for all the right reasons, why you are so successful and why I am so blessed and excited that you took some time and shared your story with us. I hope other people are able to take some of this information today and go back and impact the next 24 hours of their life like you have mine.
Thank you, Curtis. And Vanessa was right. You are my doppelganger. So it was great to meet you because we had that fantastic conversation that day. And I think everything you just said is, I think being authentic and trusting people to be their best is an important part of success, and especially in today's work environments. And I think you reflect that in your book and in your speeches, and obviously in speaking to you. You're a very inspiring person. So the feeling is mutual, sir.
Thank you. And keep living the dream. Enjoy the next 24 hours.
Will do, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. I can't even begin to say how thankful I am that Matt Fischer from Curiosity Advertising was able to share some of his inspiration, his ideas on culture, and the way that he thinks people need to give back to their employees and to the community. And that leads us directly into the 24-hour challenge. Let's remember this. Every Friday, X amount of their employees go and spend some time with a third or fourth grade class. And just so you know, that is time on the clock. That is time that he's investing in them to go and invest in someone else. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And I'm going to say the 24-hour challenge for you is simple. I want you to go and invest in someone else and convince them to have you and this other person together go and volunteer for something. It doesn't mean you have to volunteer in the next 24 hours, but you have to convince at least one other person to join you to give back. And you're going to sign up for a blood drive, sign up for something at your synagogue or your church, or something that's a local community gathering where they're cleaning up the neighborhood, whatever it is. But in the next 24 hours, I want you and one other person to make a difference, because I know that's what Matt is trying to do every single day, and that's what he's inspiring me to tell you to do as well. Thanks again, Matt, for all of your amazing insights. I hope everyone will check out curiosity360.com and learn more about what Matt and the Curiosity team does every day. Keep living the dream and enjoy volunteering over the next 24 hours. Hey, thank you for listening to the next 24 hours. I want to know, do you want to live the dream? Because if you do, all you have to do is go to curtiszimmerman.com, click on Want to Live the Dream, and I'm going to send you out an official Living the Dream wristband as a gift. Remember, in order to live the dream, you have to make the next 24 hours count. The clock is ticking.